book real quick.
All right.
We're running out of showtime, but
okay.
One thing I want to say is I got to admire that not once did you say trophy as far as size, and I admire that. To me, trophy has always been the story of the harvest.
The moment.
Yeah. And speaking of which, you have written a book about those moments.
Yes, sir.
And for those of you, it's the treasures of the wild
treasures of an
outdoorsman.
Yep.
I know I've said it 1,000 times and I just drew a blank. What made you write that book?
I just had something to say.
Okay.
Eventually, it just became a personal book about just adventure.
Yeah.
I want people to understand that life is an adventure, and I would like them to see it through my eyes. And hunting and fishing in Florida, and then beyond.
Yeah.
And how life is kind of a stepping stone, full of stepping stones, and you take little baby steps at first, and then you're scared to go out in the woods.
Yeah.
I wrote that in the book.
And you know what you said, and it certainly touches me. I mean, you had a story, and reading your book, I read it page to page. I think I did it in 2 days. It just had me glued to it. I hated to go to work and not have that book in my hand, honestly. I saw, it was almost a mirror image. Obviously the stories were pretty much...
I wanted people to identify with it,
It hit the heart.
Yeah.
Now, in that book, you break the stories down to events, and that's what made it so awesome. Every chapter is basically an event beginning
Stood
to
on
end
its own.
with a point and
Right.
a lesson learned.
Right.
In that book, what would you say brings out most to you? I mean, is there a moment in there that would,
Well, I think all of them play a huge role in who I am. Nearly shot a game warden. I nearly shot a game warden.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, how much would that have changed my life and his?
Right.
That was during a turkey hunt. Safety has to be paramount. And he was just doing his job, and I was just legally hunting my turkey. And it's just a situation that went really bad, that could have been ugly, but didn't. And I ran into that same wildlife officer a year later during an archery hunt. I said, "Do you remember me?" He said, "Oh yeah, I remember you." And I didn't stop hearing about that for a year, because I had called the FWC and I had filed a complaint. And I told them what a bad idea it was to send a wildlife officer in where turkey hunters were, for whatever reason. I won't get into it.
Right.
And
so is that what happened? You were hunting and
I was hunting in an area that they had closed by executive order. And he saw my truck and he came in there, and I had a bird at 20 yards, and then the bird went putt sound.
Right.
And I thought, and it was real thick cover. I thought, what? My heart was pounding, and I was pumped up. This is 20 years ago. I was a much younger man.
Right.
And I was hiding in the bushes like you do, and he walked right into my turkey decoy. I had no idea he was coming, none at all. And I was looking down the barrel of my shotgun at a wildlife officer.
Wow.
And it just it scared me at first, but then it angered me after that. Again, how our lives would have changed.
Absolutely.
If I had accidentally shot that man.
Wow.
But I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. And Jamie Adams called me, and he was the chairman of the FWC. He called me 2 weeks later, and he said, "Why don't you tell me what happened on your hunt?" And I thought to myself, wow, what redemption. Somebody cared,
right.
To call. And what a great guy. I'd always been a Jamie Adams fan.
Right.
He wrote In the Woods and Water,
Yep.
And
read it for years. Absolutely.
Yep. And to have him call me and show interest in my, experience. Yeah, it was cool.
Wow. I tell you what, I want to shoot a plug. We now have a mutual friend, and this is how Peter and I met, was Tony Young.
Tony Young, yeah.
A good friend of ours, and
yep.
you know Tony Young. He's got some videos out there now. Actually, I watched 2 of them tonight, or earlier today, about turkey season.
Right.
So you can, on Hunt Florida, you can see it on YouTube, and obviously if you follow him on Facebook, Tony Young is phenomenal. He's got an awesome song out there called
Waiting on Tom.
Waiting on a Tom. Yeah.
I like Buck Fever too.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
Buck
good.
Fever. So he is with the FWC. I actually got a chance to go visit him in his office.
Awesome.
This year. So Mike, how are we doing?
We're fine. We're going to take a few extra minutes.
Okay. So I wanted to shoot Tony a super plug out there. Tony, thank you for introducing me to.
Well, you know what Tony did for me? I went on Facebook to promote the book. Wasn't going to do Facebook for any other reason than to promote my book.
Right.
And I sent Tony Young he had an article, Out of the Woods, and I was reading it regularly.
Right.
And became a Tony Young fan. And he just was a great writer. And I sent him a friend request, and he responded right away. And I waited a little while. I said, should I ask him if he wants to buy a copy of my book? I really just I don't know. And I told him, I said, I'm a fan. I've written a book. Would you like to read it? He said, sure, send me one. How much are they?
Right.
And I was just blown away.
Yeah.
So I said, well, give me your address. And he messaged me his address, and I sent him the book. And he sent me a check. He paid for the thing.
That's great.
And I was just, what a great guy.
Right.
And anyway, he messaged me back. He said, really enjoyed the book. Great book. Whatever I can do to help you promote it, I'll do. And he has. He's helped me promote it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, I agree.
How do we nominate somebody for the commission? Because he's my nomination.
I agree. Yeah, that's
my
definitely.
I don't know how hard it is for someone on the inside to actually get a seat on the commission. But as the years go by, I think maybe he would be a good one to.
I've seen Tony in his environment, and he's definitely a dedicated.
Very much so.
And
smart.
I happened to be there on his birthday, actually.
Wow.
So and it was just super smart guy.
Yeah.
He knows this stuff. He actually taught me something about alligator season this year that I totally was clueless to. So I mean, we religiously live by Tony's beat.
And when it comes to the FDOC, there is a lot to be upset about.
Right.
However, I only focus on the multitude of good things that they do. Yeah. And if I've got a beef, I take it to the source. I don't broadcast it to the world.
Exactly.
And as far as whatever I broadcast to the world is going to be positive, because there's a lot to be positive about.
And I always say, when you're managing 5 million acres in the state of Florida.
Wow. Yeah.
And what a great job they're doing.
Show me anybody that can manage it and get the results that they get. Real quick, I know we're running out of time. How many turkeys we killed last year is 20,000 turkeys in 2014. The most turkeys we've killed is that stretch of the recession from 2006, to 2009. The highest was 27,000 birds because nobody had money at that time. So, hunting, even in 1988, 15,000 birds was average. So that tells you where we've come.
Yeah, and when I was a boy growing up in Lake County, there were no birds.
Absolutely, yeah. I rarely saw. To see a turkey was a treat, let alone to kill one.
Yeah.
So.
Well, normally at the tail end of our episodes, we do some sort of storytelling. You tell great stories.
Right.
But I would love to just a few minutes have Peter maybe just summarize or tell us one of the stories. I don't know if you have a favorite chapter out of a book or something that's really stuck with you, or I'd love for you to just pick one and out of your own words, maybe give us a quick summary of.
I like Grandpa's Resolve.
You know what? Yeah.
I like Grandpa's Resolve, the first chapter. It kind of springboards, and people identify with it. Grandfathers identify with it, and grandchildren identify with it.
Tell us about Grandfather's Resolve.
Grandpa's Resolve was when we as a family moved from New York. My grandfather bought a house on Trout Lake. Trout Lake is a cypress tree, gator-infested, swampy lake. 90% of it is cypress and wilderness. And he bought an old wooden boat. And we put that wooden boat on top of the 1968 Executive and drove it home and leaned it up against one of those cypress trees and sanded down the bottom and put on the tar and pitch and the shellac and painted it and made that old wooden boat seaworthy. And we were going to go fishing in that boat. I don't know how he thought he was going to get in and out of that boat because he had a busted up hip and busted up knees. He could barely get in and out of the car. He walked with 2 canes almost. Every time he got in the car, he kind of crash landed into the seat.
Right.
The car was the first lowrider.
Essentially,
But poor Grandpa, we worked on that boat every day after school for a month, maybe longer. I don't know. But the night before we were supposed to go fishing in the boat, the wind blew it over. A storm came and blew it over onto a cypress knee, and the
Oh.
cypress knee just
Yeah.
put a death blow to the hull of the boat, and he had to pay $20 for somebody to haul it off.
Holy
And I think probably 2 or 3 months later he passed away. You know, so Grandpa's resolve was to pass on a legacy that he really didn't have. He wanted to be a fisherman.
Right.
He loved to fish, but he was from the city, and something inside of him wanted to be outside.
Yeah.
He always went down to the dock. He would go to Eckerd's and buy those Zebco 404.
Remember that?
Right? And the little kits, and he would buy one for me, and we'd go out on that dock and we would fish. He knew so little about fishing.
Right.
He got one of those corks and put a rubber worm on the bottom of on the end of it and cast it out there, not realizing you need to retrieve it through the
Right.
weeds. You want to catch a bass. And that was the scope of his fishing. He fished in the surf a little bit when he lived in New York there on Long Island, but not very much. But he loved being outside, and he wanted to pass on the legacy of the outdoors to me, and
Right.
he did that, right? He passed it on. That was his resolve. I said, I got to pass something on to my grandson that he'll. And I doubt that he ever knew what an impact,
Right.
like grandparents have on their grandchildren. And he passed it on in a dramatic way, and it was such a little thing.
Right. Right.
And I doubt anyone ever was really paying attention. And here I sit today, a turkey hunter, a deer hunter. I go elk hunting with a bow out in Colorado, right? And whatever I can find my hands to do in the outdoors, I do it. So, and all because my grandpa took me fishing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
And the more you think about it, we think about the people in our lives. What contribution did they make to my life that changed who I'd become?
Absolutely.
You know?
That's That's absolutely right.
And I don't know. It's just maybe my wife says I think too much.
And that story actually catapults your book into who you are. You can actually read that starts out the whole thing, and wow, that's absolutely amazing.
So I'm just a Yankee boy made good in Florida.
That just proves to you country is countrywide.
Yeah.
Wow. Peter, I
Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
I mean, because if you're listening or watching that, the feeling right there is every chapter is more and so much more of that right there, and it's that the heart that you even told that story with comes out
absolutely
when you read this book. And
oh yeah.
And I'm not a reader. We've talked about this before. I'm not a reader, and I'm taking my time absorbing that book, because even my wife was saying, "Are you sure you don't want to have read the book by the time?" I'm enjoying that book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, because once it's over, I probably won't go back and read it all over again, all chapter.
Yeah, I have trouble reading books twice.
But I'm enjoying the book, and
awesome.
and that legacy and the family and the values that run through it is.
Yeah.
We actually had a question on Twitter. Where can we find the book?
Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, just message me on Facebook. You Peter Updike or Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman has its own Facebook page.
Okay.
Message me and I'll get you a copy.
And it's on our website as well.
If you go to homepage,
Yep.
right hand side there, you can click on the Peter Updike picture
And
of the
it'll
book,
take you right where you can get
right
it.
to the Facebook page.
Absolutely. And obviously email us. We'll make sure you get in touch. We'll make sure that you've got an avenue straight to Peter's book. I know you'll enjoy it. I know I absolutely did, and I would definitely read the book twice.
Facebook is awesome. I never dreamed that
I
I would meet
know.
the people that I've met and make the contacts that I have, and been able to promote the book without spending a bunch of money.
You know what?
kidding.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
It's people talking to people.
That's it.
Yep.
Peter, I appreciate you driving overnight. Would you
Yeah.
come over again sometime?
I would.
Really?
That'd be
Now that I
awesome.
know how to
Yes.
get here.
We hope to hunt with Peter this year. And if you have any questions, shoot them to us. info@rodneyrogers.com. Hit us on Facebook, Twitter, RRO, wherever. Get us. We'll get you in touch with Peter. Obviously, if you have any welding needs, he's the guy. You see the cool
We're
stuff
going to
he
make
made
a room.
us?
Hold that up again, Rodney.
Yeah, let me hold this up again. Where am I going with it? Right here.
This camera's live right here.
Yeah, we're going live right here, so we'll go with that one.
I love that.
It's official. It's our new mascot for the show. You'll see it every time you see us. Mike, How you got anything else?
I'm good. Thank you, and thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed
And thank you
being here.
everybody for listening that makes us come back every Tuesday for our 1 hour vacation. We love you. We couldn't do it without you.
Yes.
And as my mama said 18 million times, and I pray I get to say it half as much, you kids get outside and stay.